Today I'm going to show you an alternative to the nozzle that comes with the Up 3D printer. I've shown you how to remove the broken part. Now when you go on eBay or ring up, you find out the price and this is what you get. After you pick yourself up the floor and you say, gee, that's fairly expensive, you then go on eBay and you look at alternative nozzles. And there are thousands of different sizes and shapes and types and all that. So I decided just to order this particular type. And it is 2 for $5, $5.20. I'll show it to you here. Boom, boom. Now, they're not made for the Up, but they are made for the 1.75 plastic and the 0.4 hole with an M6 thread. So that's a good starting point. So I wanted to find out what alternative method I could use that was cheaper, more reliable and stronger. And this is what I've come up with. I'm going to show you a couple of alternatives that you could use. It's up to you what you choose. But basically, this particular part fits in the block like such. Now, the big difference between the nozzles is that the 1.9 clearance hole is just to fit the plastic on the replacement. Yet the actual hole in the original is much bigger. It's not to fit the plastic, it's to fit the smaller end of that shaft. Now, and this is the nozzle, broken part. So that's how it fits. Now the idea of that, so when the plastic's fed through, it is kept in the nozzle, and if it has to leak out, it has to leak out around that tube and then out, and it does. So it's not 100% leak proof, but that's the idea of it. But that is the design problem it has. The hole is 4mm, the thread is 6mm. So that leaves 2mm between the outside of the thread and that hole. M6 tapping size screw, a tapping size drill for that thread is 5mm. So the minor diameter of the thread is 5, the bore is 4, so you have 1mm of thickness of brass. That's total. That's 0.5 millimeter each side. So when you try to turn it off, it will snap. We may say that's a design fault. Up may say that that's a money maker for them, especially when you see the price of the nozzles. So these nozzles are cheaper than the Up. The Up is over 1000% more. 1000% more. There's a little bit of markup, but 1000% more. You'll see them for about $25 for a nozzle. You can buy one of these for about $2.50. That's 1000% markup. Unacceptable. So you say, okay, what can I do? you can buy this particular nozzle, and as you can see, the actual length of the head is bigger. So you'll lose about 3 mil, 2 to 3 mil. Now, if you're printing all the way up in your printer constantly and you need that extra 2mm, buy the original. But if you're like most of us and never go up in height, it's mainly diameter that we have trouble with, then this is a good alternative. So what you can do is you can get a 4mm drill, or 4mm end mill would be better, because then that would be flat, and then putting this in a lathe or in a drill, you would get a 1.9mm drill, put it in your chuck, clip this into the on the vise and use that to center, then drill, take the drill out and then put in the other drill and drill it until it just fits down. But as you can see, it's almost, well, that was not so bad, but on the original one it almost breaks through. So you'll drill that until it just touched, then it's an original. You can put it back in and use this head, use this thread, this. You can then use this. But that's alternative one. Alternative two is that this particular distance from here to here is the same distance from there to there. So you could actually cut off this smaller diameter, flush, file it flat, then install it and screw in your nozzle, and then that would then sit like such. Well, it was actually sit like that because that plug was in there. So that would then sit like that inside the block. So that's alternative two. But if you made that too short and you had some troubles, well, then you're in big bother. Although you could then just make up a copper washer that would just be the size of that bore and that thread, and then that would then lock in. So that's alternative two. The third alternative is what I tried, and even though I made this one up myself, you can purchase these off eBay. They're a threaded type. Here's the info. And what you have to do is mill or file the flat on there. That flat is only to lock the nozzle in. So, but what you have to do is get a M6 tap and tap it from this direction through, so as the thread just starts to go through, because with a tap they're very sloppy, and with a taper tap you'll cut the thread thinner at the top than the bottom, and then you just put that in and you just slowly screw it until it's tight. Then what you do is you nip up your replacement nozzle, you then screw the thread in. It doesn't have the flat at this time, so you screw it in till it's touching, nipped up. Then you get your texture colour and you mark it where you want to file the flat. A better idea is to just unnip the nozzle, say at a quarter of a turn, eighth of a turn, then screw the thread in until it hits the bottom, then mark your area to flat, take it out, file it. That's 4mm. It can be larger or a little bit smaller because it clamps, but then put it back in and check its position before you take off too much and do the other side. If it's then correct, you then turn it down so as the flat lines up, nip it, and the actual nipping of the nozzle is then the lock screw, the lock nut for that thread. That's to stop that from just spinning around loosely. So once that's done, you follow your other side, nip it up, make sure it's parallel, check that with the plastic it actually goes through smoothly into both that bore and that bore. So as you can see, that's the depth. So that's nice and smooth. Reassemble your components. Then just put it in position and nip it up. I made this one a little bit longer just to see how things would go, and I made it longer just in case the flats were in the wrong position. I could face off the end of the screw and allow it to move down. So that's the alternative. I got a section of the video now that's a bit closer to the actual part, so as you can see more clearly what I'm talking about, but that's your $5, $2.50 and a couple of bucks for a tap. Quick, easy, stronger, reliable up 3D printer nozzle replacement solution. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope I've saved you some money.